Managing Director of Bank of Industry, which is also one of the major partners of the project. It is known all over the world that MSMEs are catalysts for economic inclusivity. They provide jobs. They provide jobs to a significant portion of the population, generating 50% GDP and creating between 60 to 70% of all jobs. And that is why this administration is very intentional in ensuring that MSMEs have a seamless access to single-digit loans, so that they close to 40 million MSMEs, representing 97% of total businesses in Nigeria, and most of them are run by the youths and women, can play their roles and contribute to Nigeria's economic development. So let me welcome all of you formally. But to formally tell us we're welcome is a man alongside the 18 partners have been driving this process. This man spends probably 70% of his time in the air, flying all over Nigeria. Let me welcome here with a round of applause, Mr. Tola Adekunle Johnson.
Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably represented by the Deputy Chief of Staff, Senator Hassan Adija. Thank you very much for being here today. All our major, reliable partners, Wema Bank, Access Bank, Bank of Industry, Smedan, everyone in the house, DG, NITDA, BOA, everybody, thank you. Thank you very much for being here. My special thanks to the African Union Commission. This started as a skeletal discussion. We were having a chat on rates, interest rates across the continent, and we realized that we had a major issue. It was a unique African issue. You know, you see that 17% somewhere, 20-something% somewhere. A few countries, 7%, hovering about 7, 8, 9%, but nowhere near the 3% and the 2% of this world that you get in some of the other countries. So we said, why don't we collaborate together and, have this discussion and see where this leads us. And we're here today. I would like to thank you, Madam, for approving this. I would like to thank you and your entire team. We worked hard on this. Briema, I know you do not like to be called out, but thank you. Thank you, thank you. Please, stand up, please. Please, thank you. We worked on this for we started February 16th or so, and we've been talking ever since then. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to bore you. The essence of this, like I said earlier on, is to ensure that small businesses are able to get single-digit loan. Before I came into government, before I was privileged to be an advisor and assistant to the president, I was running my own business. And I was collecting loans to run that business. I was lucky to be collecting facilities, huge facilities, to run my business. But I was paying double digits. It was a struggle. It was a huge struggle. I'm coming from the point of someone who was a businessman. It was a huge struggle. It's still a huge struggle. And I'm convinced that as a continent, we can do something about this. The answer to some of these hurdles is not outside this continent, it's here. So what we have done is to assemble a group of technocrats, people that can match the standards anywhere in the world, to come and try or attempt to provide solutions to what these issues are. So we're going to be having 2 panel sessions. One is dedicated to single-digit facility and how that can be achieved. Now, it can be achieved, but the word now is sustainable. Can it be achieved in the morning and later in the evening? It's no longer achievable. So we need to put modalities in place to ensure that these things are constant. You wake up in the morning, it's the same thing you get. What you get on Friday is what you get on Monday. There is no nation anywhere in the world. I'm not mincing any words. There's no nation anywhere in the world that can survive without paying great attention to their MSMEs. They are the heartbeat of any nation. With these few points of mine, I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Don't mind him. He won't rest his case. So he's a workaholic. Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together for him, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Chief Olarunsho Koka, DG NIDA, also walked in here, where you say, thank you very much. You're the only one wearing a resource control cap. So I welcome you. Thank you. I also like to welcome Dr. Marlin Waziri, representing Dr. Chukwunonso Ifeanyi Okeke, Director General and CEO, Standards Organization of Nigeria. You're welcome. I think for even wearing green, white, green, you deserve another round of applause. Thank you. And so, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to speak to us now, Tola spoke glowingly about her, but you don't expect anything less because this is a woman who has been on the road for a long time. At a point, she was the former deputy governor of the National Bank of Rwanda. She's an economist. She's a politician. She's a diplomat. And because she's serving here and we see her court, find a local government for you right here in Nigeria. A wonderful sister, mother from Rwanda, but she's here with us, Dr. Monique. Nsanza Bangwa. Did I get very close to it? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I welcome her to the microphone. You can go up.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. You tried. My name is Nsanza Baganwa. So he really did well. Your Excellency, Deputy Chief of Staff to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a special advisor to the Nigerian President, all protocol duly observed, captains of financial institutions and of industry, cultural and religious leaders here present, good morning and happy MSMEs Day. It's a great honor to address this distinguished audience on behalf of the African Union Commission on this year's Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises Day. I extend special thanks to the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for hosting this event and for your generous hospitality. I actually commend the creator-in-chief or the dreamer-in-chief of this idea, the special advisor. Thank you so much for teaming up with our team to really deliver this vision. I call it a vision because indeed it comes from the heart and the mind and from the experience of someone who knows actually the hardship that these MSMEs have to go through day in, day out. Constituting 90% of the private sector, providing 80% of jobs, and contributing 40% to the continent's GDP, the MSMEs are vital to Africa's economic growth and development. Their significance demands that governments establish supportive legal and regulatory frameworks. Despite their potential, MSMEs face significant challenges, particularly in accessing affordable financing. High interest rates and limited credit options hinder their growth, necessitating urgent action from all stakeholders. Reducing the cost of credit and improving the financial ecosystem for MSMEs is crucial. This year's MSMEs Day rightly emphasizes the need to lower interest rates and financial charges, enabling these enterprises to thrive and contribute more effectively to our economies. In fact, the call to action is clear: single-digit interest rates. Your Excellencies, we must also enhance transaction facilitation. Traditional banking models often fall short in meeting MSMEs' needs. Promoting instant electronic payments and improving digital financial services can address these gaps. Formalizing the informal sector is equally important for building robust economies and promoting financial inclusion. Effective financial inclusion requires focusing on the last mile, addressing real user needs with well-designed financial products, efficient distribution, and financial education. Digital identities, mobile wallets, and advancements in mobile networks present significant opportunities for greater financial participation, especially for women, youth, and rural communities. Governments, therefore, regulators, and global institutions play a critical role in creating favorable regulatory environment and supporting digital infrastructure. I commend the decision by the Central Bank of West African States to introduce an integrated, interoperable, instant payment system from July this year, 2024. Initiatives like the UN Better Than Cash Alliance help accelerate the transition to digital payments, advancing the Sustainable Development Goals, and of course, the targets in Agenda 2063 of the African Union. Your Excellencies, allow me now to touch on some of the African Union initiatives targeting MSMEs. I will start with the African Union strategy and master plan for SMEs, which serves as a guideline for integrating African micro, small, and medium enterprises and industries into regional and global value chains as we diversify our economies, industrialize our productive system, and accelerate intra-African trade. All of this under the umbrella of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The African Union Commission plays a pivotal role in advancing women and youth financial and economic inclusion initiatives in particular. The Commission and the Union at large advocate for regulations that support equal access to financial services and economic opportunities. We also facilitate training programs aimed at improving financial literacy and entrepreneurial skills, especially among women and youth, as well as technical assistance to national institutions to build their capacity in designing and implementing inclusion strategies. The African Union Women and Youth Financial and Economic Inclusion Initiative, which we call WIFI, W-Y-F-E-I, WIFI 2030, is one such initiative, and one I'm so proud to have championed, and under also the championship of our gender champion for the African Union, His Excellency the President of Ghana. WIFI 2030 was launched in 2022, and it dedicated itself to offer a partnership framework for an intentional and accountable delivery of the African Union's decade of women's financial and economic inclusion, the decade running from the year 2020 to 2030. WIFI 2030 aims to unlock $100 billion value for at least 10 million women and youth SMEs by 2030. This should come in terms of access to finance, and here I'm stressing access to single-digit finance, access to markets, and job opportunities. The African Union Commission is promoting a coordinated approach, brokering collaborations among players, and enhancing reporting with financial institutions and other stakeholders such as governments, private sector, and international organizations under the convening power of the African Union. We want at the end of the decade, 2030, to report, and actually we'll be reporting every year, and we are starting in Accra next July. How far are we making on this journey, and what are the tangible numbers that we can say actually these are the things that have happened, and can these women and youth be also testifying that actually it's happening and it's helping them to move from one point to the next. I kindly invite the government of Nigeria, specifically my brother, special advisor, I kindly invite you to champion this cause in Nigeria. I invite the central bank to be active player in the cascading of this initiative. We need to account to the people, to the women and youth of what we are delivering, not just pronounce a political message about a decade and then at the end of it, we don't have anything to show for it. As a full member of the G20 and an active player in the G20 Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion, the African Union will sustain its global advocacy for MSMEs financing to fill the gaps with a focus on utilizing innovative digital infrastructures, including digital public infrastructure, for removing various traditional barriers in order to enhance financial inclusion. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you to the 3rd Annual African Union MSMEs Forum, which is happening in September this year from the 9th to 12th to 13th in Windhoek, Namibia, under the theme Fostering Financial Empowerment and Educational Innovation for African Startups and MSMEs. This forum will celebrate MSMEs' impact and provide essential training for growth and sustainability. My call to action to all stakeholders in the public and private sectors is to commit to implementing single-digit financing for African MSMEs and promoting equitable financial inclusion. I thank you, and once again, happy MSMEs Day.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate her with another round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very quickly, to deliver her short Goodwill message. You know, there are so many lawyers in this room this morning, and I have a lot of them as my friends. Our next speaker is one, and I'll keep on asking them, what are those beautiful qualities of a good lawyer? And they will tell me a lawyer must be honest, a lawyer must have communication skills, must be creative, must have compassion, a lawyer must have sound judgment, ability to listen, attention to detail, and a lawyer must have logical ability. And all of these qualities are in our next speaker and even the next one. So without much ado, let me welcome her. She's a globally recognized jurist. She is the special advisor to the president on PEBEC and investment law. And a wonderful sister indeed, Dr. Jumoke Udwali.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to stand on the very well adumbrated protocols. That was an excellent remark. The Deputy Chief of Staff, Taj, the indefatigable Taj. So many heads of agency, colleagues, MSMEs, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'll just be giving a brief congratulatory message. It's World MSME Day. The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council was established in 2016 to cater primarily to MSMEs, to make sure that it's easier, progressively easier, to do business in Nigeria. That has taken us on a journey of joining hands with all arms and levels of government. The federal government, over 53 agencies, work on regulatory and bureaucratic challenges. The National Assembly has passed different legislations, like access to the collateral registry of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and also the Companies and Allied Matters Act, and our very first Business Facilitation Act of 2022. We've also worked with every state government and the FCT with our subnational intervention, which has led us to co-designing a program with the World Bank with $750 million for a 3-year program to distill and deepen ease of doing business across the country. We continue to partner with so many of the people across the room and progressively seek to make sure that MSMEs can have access to capital, can have an easier business climate, removing their bureaucratic and legislative challenges. And we've been delivering over 180 verifiable results. The importance of being here today, apart from being an integral member of the Office of the Vice President, of which is the host of this event, is to ensure that whatever MSMEs need in terms of removing bureaucratic bottlenecks in the federal government of Nigeria, to give that assurance today. In fact, tomorrow we have a town hall meeting to look at the regulatory reform accelerator that has been delivered over 120 days to remove specific bureaucratic and legislative bottlenecks for MSMEs across Nigeria. So I'd like to wish you a successful deliberations and a good celebration this evening. It's always a good thing to support MSMEs. They're the heartbeat of our economy, just under 50%, representing over 95% of businesses in Nigeria, and most importantly, employing nearly 90% of jobs in Nigeria. So I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. Have a good morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you. Tola is a very happy man. I'd like to welcome here the head client relations, Afrexim Bank, representing her boss, Mr. Peter Olowononi. Did I get that right? Where are you, sir? Is Olowononi, Abi? Olowononi? Okay, thank you. And also here is Husseini Ishak Magaji, SAN, the Registrar General of the Corporate Affairs Commission. Where are you, sir? Okay, let's appreciate him and welcome him, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier, I was enumerating the beautiful qualities of a lawyer. Our next speaker, who will eventually declare open this dialogue, is not just a politician, but also a lawyer, former senator, and he is the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President. But beyond all of that, is that he embodies the three classical qualities of a leader, and they are humility, clarity, and courage. It's therefore my honor and pleasure to welcome here the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, representing the Vice President, Senator Ibrahim Hassan Hadije.
Ladies and gentlemen, while I would like to adopt the protocols already established, I still think it's appropriate to recognize the African Union Commission Deputy Chairperson, to avoid the situation that the MC found himself, I will take the liberty of calling her by her first name, Monique. We met only this morning, but I think we agree that we're on first name terms already. Before I read the official remarks of the Vice President who I'm representing here, who is unavoidably absent because we have an emergency NEC meeting taking place any time from now. Yesterday I was in Katsina to represent the Vice President in opening what is probably the largest industrial development and common services center I've ever seen. And I want to say this because it's an appropriate occasion. And maybe that is really the way to go, get our governors at the subnational level to recognize the importance of MSMEs and to give them the priority they deserve. The governor of Katsina was a former Director General of the Small and Medium Scale Development Agency of Nigeria, so it's no surprise that he absolutely put that on the front burner. Not only that, talking about affordable finance, he launched a 5 billion naira fund, put down 3 billion of the state's money, and got a matching amount from BOI and Smedan to create a 5 or 6 billion naira fund that is well below single digits. So I just thought It's an appropriate occasion to mention this and to see how we can engage the governors at the subnational level to absolutely put MSME development at the front burner. I read the same statistics yesterday that I heard, 96% employment, 80% of the people employed, and the contribution to GDP. But I think to put that in perspective, 46% contribution to GDP by MSMEs. If you look at the other contributors in agricultural services, there's also an MSME component even within those statistics. So we may be looking at well beyond 46%. And if you understand that oil, which is the major revenue earner in Nigeria, oil's contribution to GDP slipped from 6.6% in 2022 to about 5.3% in 2023. So you can see, really when you put them in perspective, the kind of impact that MSMEs will have. And I think we should begin to look at development in that sector as a solution, not just to unemployment, but also to security, as the case may be. So I would like to go straight to the Vice President's address. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON. He has asked that I congratulate Nigerian MSMEs across the country today on the United Nations MSME Day, a day which Nigeria marks by bringing the issues facing MSMEs to the front burner, while providing solutions on how to resolve them. It is also a day the Nigerian MSMEs are rewarded for their hard work over the years, as will happen today by 4 p.m. at the MSME event at the Presidential Villa. Before proceeding with my remarks, it is imperative that I take a moment to sincerely appreciate the leadership of the African Union Commission for partnering with the Nigerian government to bring together more relevant stakeholders to lend their voice to the important conversation on what we can all do to better support MSMEs in Africa. And at this point in time, I'd also like to express our sincere appreciation to Bank of Industry, Wema Bank, Access Bank, Nexim Bank, Development Bank of Nigeria, Smedan, and indeed all who have come to the table to help us move the MSME conversation forward. As we are all aware, MSMEs are the backbone of not only the Nigerian or the African economy, but of the global economy as a whole. They account for 90% of all businesses worldwide and employ over 60% of the global workforce. It is no wonder then that the United Nations has dedicated today, the 27th of June, to recognize MSMEs and to celebrate them for their immense contributions to the economies of nations all over the world. In Nigeria, the stakes are even higher. MSMEs account for 96% of all businesses. Again, stand the risk of repeating myself, but I think it's important. And their contribution to the GDP is about 46%. And without them, 80% of the current Nigerian workforce will be without employment. These facts provide us with the evidence that if MSMEs prosper, Nigeria prospers. And we can say the same about Africa and indeed the entire world. Unfortunately, MSMEs in Africa are fraught with numerous challenges that hinder their growth and by extension the growth of the African economy. It is for this reason that we have joined hands with the African Union Commission to hear from you all, our distinguished guest speakers and panelists, on devising the appropriate continental solutions for this obvious continental problem. I want to urge all of us not to forget that this gathering is a call to action. That means that we must all ensure that we do our part to actualize all the insights that will be uncovered from today's occasion. Failure to do so would mean that we'll have all gathered today for nothing and will have wasted another opportunity. Rest assured that the Nigerian government, under the leadership of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is committed to the prosperity of MSMEs in Nigeria. And indeed, the recent launch of the 150 billion naira MSME Intervention Fund in partnership with the Bank of Industry which will also offer single-digit loans to MSMEs across Nigeria, amongst other interventions, is an example of this commitment. In closing, I thank you all for your contributions to the efforts to enable our MSMEs to thrive and flourish, and for contributing to the success of this event. May God bless Africa, and may we all live to witness a more prosperous continent. Thank you very much. Okay, I've been instructed by Tola to offer a formal invitation to the Africa Union Deputy Chairperson to attend the MSME Awards this evening at the Presidential Villa. This is our own way of encouraging people who we believe have made significant contributions to the development of MSMEs, and it will be a pleasure to have you there, and possibly even to present some of the awards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Tola has learned a lot of diplomacy. Thank you. And so, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will go into the meat of the event now, which is actually the panel discussion. We have two panels here this morning. The first panel that will be taking a look at providing sustainable single-digit loans for MSMEs in Africa. These are members of the panel. Let me first and foremost welcome here the moderator. Okay, we might just let the photograph go on. Thank you very much, Chief of Staff. Thank you. And so we'll now move on to the panel. Let me welcome here first our moderator. She's a pride to Nigerian media. I like to describe her as a very vibrant and charismatic Akwa Ibomite, a broadcast journalist with over 2 decades experience, dedicated to excellence in reporting, production, presentation, and editorial duties. She's here with us, and I'm very sure she will give a good account of herself. Please welcome here, Ini John Mekwa. These are members of the panel. I'd like to welcome here, representing the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Acting Director, Development Finance, Mr. Saad Hamidu. I think there's a representative of the MD of Bank of Industry. Okay, please join us. Is there a representative of the Honorable Minister of Finance? Let me welcome here Mr. Peter Olowononi, Head Client Relations of the Anglophone West Africa of Afrexim Bank, representing Ms. Oluranti Doati. And also here, Ms. Dawn Osman. Mrs. Dawn Osman, Ron Osman, is the Head of Division, Industry, Minerals, and Innovation of the African Union Commission. And then finally for this panel, Mr. Roosevelt Ogbonna, Managing Director of Access Bank, Nigeria. I'm very sure there's a Deputy Managing Director that is in the room. The way she's smiling, I should have access to Access Bank Finance. I welcome you. And the moderator is very accommodating. She's welcoming all of them. Though at this point, Ini is all yours.
Good morning, everyone. Good to be here. Welcome, panelists. Good morning, everyone, and you're welcome. So, obviously, this is an important conversation. We've heard the numbers, the contribution, or the potentials of small businesses to the economy. Everybody has said it. World Bank has said it. We've seen it here in Nigeria. But I guess one thing we'd like to discuss here, obviously, is the single-digit funding. And the International Finance Corporation has said that small businesses need over $330 billion if we want to really explore their potentials. And I think that our host was once a small business, and he shared firsthand experience of double digits. And then for Nigeria here, having NPR at almost 25% officially, of course we know what that means in reality. So, and it's important here, I think, to stress that it's an African conversation and not a Nigerian conversation. If Nigeria does well, if Ghana doesn't do well, Ghanaians will come to Nigeria, and Nigeria will feel the burden. So Africa has to do well. And I'm very happy to have this very diverse and rich panel to have this conversation. But I'll start by asking everyone to please share with us where you see us here when we talk about our SMEs, our small businesses, the development, the stage we are. I mean the reality, and I do like that our host spoke from the heart. So I would like for us to talk from reality and not just what we have on paper. What is the reality when it comes to access to funding for small businesses? I'll start with you, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, moderator. I think from central bank perspective, particularly in development financing, we've been in this space for a very long time. My presentation or discussion will be like more of descriptive of what we've been doing in this space. We've been doing single-digit interest interventions, maximum of 9%. In fact, for information, I think it's in the public domain that CBN has disbursed through interventions up to 10.5 trillion naira. And that MSME in particular, there's a special intervention for MSMEs. We call the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Development Fund, which has a portfolio of about 200 billion and 9% interest rate. So all CBN's intervention are single-digit interest rates, which is what I think the discussion is all about. So access to that is another thing. But in addition to interest rate is just one of the elements that is bedeviled in the business generally. So we have the operating environment, infrastructural issues, security issues. So these are all these things that need to be addressed. But like I said, in CBN, the new management, our new policy focus, it's like we have pulled back, we are pulling back from direct interventions. That is not to say that we are not going to support entities that have the competence and the capacities to do. What we have in mind here is to develop, to strengthen institutions where we have shares, like Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, Nexim. All these are institutions that we co-own with the Ministry of Finance. So our strategy is to see how we can strengthen these institutions by facilitating their recapitalizations and even improve on their corporate governance. Luckily, the Chief of Staff mentioned an initiative by Katsina State Government that is partnering with Bank of Industry. So that gives us more impetus to see how we can strengthen these institutions. When you speak of Bank of Agriculture, recently, I think there's a deliberate attempt or effort by the government, the physical side, to see how Bank of Agriculture can be recapitalized. This, I think, is a very welcome development because commercial banks, given the nature of their businesses and their cost structure, and in addition, the MPR you mentioned, which is also double digit. So lending to businesses at single digit at this time, I don't think it's possible. But that's why we are here to think out of the box how we can support this initiative. So what comes to mind when the Chief of Staff mentioned an initiative by Katsina State Government where the state government is putting on ground some funding. So I think this is the way to go. All state governments
department and all of that. And as you said, the new administration has come out to say, well, we will not have that much intervention as we used to have. But it would be good to learn from the CBN lessons, because obviously there are abuses. The Anchor Morale program, I think two parties are still in court over some of those abuses. It would be good if we can get some lessons, you know, that the CBN has learned. So even if a state like Katsina State, okay, yes. So even if a state like Katsina State is going that path now, what lessons can we learn from the CBN through its many interventions over the years and the challenges that have come out through that? But I'll let others speak. We'll come to you on that later. So please, just share with us your assessment, you know, of this and the possibility. CBN says it's not possible. Let's show them it's possible.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the question. I think in my response to your question, I'll give the perspective of Bank of Industry from 3 angles. Number one, in terms of funds mobilization. We raise a lot of money from international investment partners, and this is with the huge support of the federal government, actually. I think in the last 3 years, we were able to raise about $7 billion. And currently, we are in the market raising more funds to disburse to the entrepreneurs in Nigeria. The second angle to that, the second perspective is in the fact that we have partnerships here at home with one of our key stakeholders, Central Bank, and of course, corporate Nigeria, like some corporate bodies in Nigeria. And by a large extent, I think close to 2/3 of Nigerian states that are into either a matching fund arrangement or with, a matching fund arrangement with us or a managed fund program. The essence of all this is in appreciation of the challenges that you mentioned of entrepreneurs having access to low-priced finance. And what may interest you the most is, you know, in all these arrangements, particularly the matching and managed funds, we lend eventually at 9% if it is a matching fund, but if it is a managed program, then you get it as low as 5%. Katsina is just the latest state. Like I said, we've done with over 2/3 of Nigerian states, and all in appreciation of the challenges that MSMEs are finding. The challenges that are stopping MSMEs from accessing funds. Largely, thirdly, in-house, we are also doing our bits. Our latest initiative is the RAPID program, which is Rural Acts and Rural Areas Program for Investment and Development. And this is going to most entrepreneurs outside state capitals at 5% for a minimum of 3-year tenure with a moratorium of 6 months. You know, it is very important that we should say that BOI has been around for over 48 years doing this, and we're doing it primarily as a government agency trying to support and complement the federal government and at the same time implement some of the programs and initiatives from the Central Bank of Nigeria. We are the major recipients of most of the intervention funds from CBN. So I can assure you that, yes, these are all deliberately designed to show that access to finance is, as much as possible, reduced to the difficulties are reduced to the barest minimum. Let me quickly add one thing, please. We are also, on our own part, Bank of Industry, are also engaging other financial institutions and driving access to finance to MSMEs through all lending programs. We give out money to banks that are doing quite well and to banks that are also attracted to one particular niche. Let me say, for instance, those that are doing very well in gender or non-interest banking and stuff like that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Let's just take a pause, please, just a minute. I believe we have an important announcement.
Thank you very much. I'm also taking the opportunity to let the panel know you have just 20 more minutes. So very quickly, if Nigeria is inching towards Silicon Valley, if Nigeria is becoming extremely very digital, with some of our young people being hired remotely by some of the multinationals across the world, one man is pushing the frontiers. A few times that I've met him at events, I've said he's the poster boy of this administration, young, agile, upwardly mobile, intellectually savvy. I'd like to welcome here the Honorable Minister for Communications, Innovation, and Digital Economy, Mr. Dr. Bosun Tijani. He should have been part of the next panel, but he's rushing on for a meeting. Please step over here. Step over here. He will say a few things, looking very beautiful in his dress, and then he will step off. Thank you very much. I welcome you.
Thank you so much, sir. We keep the flattery coming. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. I think I won't go through the proper protocol. I was scheduled to join the next panel session. But I've been told I can give a short remark and leave, which means I didn't prepare anything as well. But I think I spent 14 years of my life before joining government supporting small businesses. So I know a thing or two about what we should perhaps consider when we're having conversations like this. Oftentimes, conversations around MSME is structured around how do we support a group of helpless businesses that are desperately in need. Status gender, good to see. And perhaps we oftentimes also talk about their numbers, how big they are, the contribution they can make to our economy. But the reality is, for those who may have economics background, you probably understand that there's no nation that can prosper without innovation. And if you study innovation, it has been well documented that the best and the biggest source of innovation in any nation is actually through small businesses. Because these are the folks who are extremely agile. They can quickly turn things around. They can try new ideas. You can imagine if you ask UAC or even MTN in my sector to try something new, they'll have to be careful to ensure that it doesn't affect the business they do and what they know about how to make money. But for a small business, it doesn't cost much to try out a new idea really quickly. And if you pay attention to the Nigerian economy, you probably know, the Secretary General is here, that productivity is one major challenge that government after government has been trying to fix. How do we raise the level of productivity in each of our sectors? How do we make sure that it can actually hit the potentials that we have? If you look at our GDP numbers, the three sectors that we typically measure or track to calculate our GDP, whether you look at agriculture, manufacturing, industry, whatever you call it, and also services as well, you will find that there's been perennial underperformance across most of these sectors. If you look deeper into the numbers, If you go into agriculture, for instance, I think the only area where we've actually been quite flat or maybe some growth is in crop production. So if you look at things like livestock, we've not done really well there. Forestry, which we have potentials, we've not done really well. And it's the same thing across all of our sectors. So if we truly must achieve our potentials as a nation, we have to prioritize innovation across all those sectors. We have to. And there's absolutely no way we can drive innovation in agriculture if we don't prioritize small businesses. There's absolutely no way. You know, as a businessman before joining government, I can't stay without doing business. So the only business I can do right now is agriculture. So I took a farm just about when I was appointed, 250 hectares. But my farm is quite unique in Ogun State. Because when we spread our herbicide, when we do our fertilization, we use drones. And what it would typically take a normal farm in Nigeria 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to do, we can do in a couple of hours. But the reality is it won't be possible without the small businesses who run the drones as a service business. So these are young people out of Lagos, very young, out of university. They're the small businesses that can't get loan anywhere. But this is the sort of business that is the future of our nation. These are the businesses we must prioritize. We must find them. They're the businesses that will bring those new ideas that can help raise the level of productivity across all of our key sectors. So that's just an example. You can see this everywhere. We're doing the same thing in the telecommunications space. As we set out to lay 90,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable, we understand that it's not going to be achievable if we don't bring small businesses in. Yesterday, I had a fantastic meeting with a company that is now looking to do fiber to home. And they're giving themselves a target of making sure 3 million homes over the next 2 years can actually have fiber connectivity, which is the world-class standard that we want everywhere. But they understand something, that they won't be able to achieve that goal if they don't train small businesses that will go out there and actually help do the installation. So I'd like to challenge us that as we gather here today, that we're not just talking about supporting small businesses as if they're orphans and desperate organizations, but that we actually bear in mind that the future of our nation is in the hands of these small businesses. That we see them as the innovators and the platform for innovation that we require to drive the growth that we need in our country. Thank you all so very much for coming. I'll leave it there today. Thank you.
The 5 minutes made sense. I'm just sure it was added something to the panel.
Yes, obviously.
Okay, so please take it away.
I just want to be sure our 20 minutes starts now.
Yes. So we say you wrap up at 12 noon.
Okay, all right. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, moderator. I bring you greetings from the president of the Afrexim Bank, Professor Benedict Orama. And I also want to say good morning to Ms. Chizoma Okoli, who was my former boss about 10 years ago. When we look at, so I'll speak from a Pan-African context. When we look at Africa today, the biggest issue that has faced Africa in its ability to be insulated from the external vagaries, the external geopolitical tension, is closely linked to the fact that the small businesses, which are the engine room of the African economies, have not stepped up to the level to which they should play. For example, when we take the Russia-Ukraine crisis, these are two neighbors. 80% of Nigerians do not even know where, before the war, did not know where Ukraine was on the map of the world. They could not be bothered. But a conflict between two neighbors, we have all seen the impact and the disruptions in global supply chains. And all of this is because our MSMEs, our small companies, are not working at the optimal level to insulate the African countries from these external pressures. And as Afrexim Bank, we have, of course, the bank was created in the 80s as an intervention bank to step into this gap and to ensure that financing is made available for African countries, the member states, the corporates, the MSMEs, to help them insulate themselves and close that gap, that financing deficit. We've historically been doing this through the bigger corporates, with our target market or the clientele were the big corporates, Dangote, Indorama, the big oil and gas companies. But we began to realize that until we come closer and bring financing closer to the MSMEs, our goal, even though today we're the biggest lender and the Dangote refinery, but Dangote needs a lot of suppliers, the MSMEs who will provide the chemicals, the spare parts, the technicians. Does he have to fly in a technician from India to come fix a bolt and a nut? You know, we realize that until we capacitize this sector through financing, credit education, facilitation, even access to information like the Intra-African Trade Fair that we're doing to bring together parties to understand the capacity that exists on the continent, that our goal, our job would not be finished. We started supporting the gentleman from BOI mentioned here. I think of the $7 billion they've raised, we've worked closely with them to at least 3 billion of that. We've been under the new financing that is ongoing. We've committed 175 million euros to that financing to ensure that BOI, we have the CEO of Nexim here, who is also one of our shareholders, to roll financing through them, done through Nigerian banks, $85 million from January till date, in promotion of our SME strategy to ensure that we can give liquidity to these banks at very cheap rates, which they can then cascade as line of credit to the MSMEs. We're working closely with the central bank, whom we're doing swaps with. We give them dollars, and they give us naira. The naira, in the past, we would invest this naira in treasury bills, but now we have reached into the CBN, which they have graciously approved at a single digit, so that we can unlock that treasury bills in cash now, and we're working to disburse this single digit loans through some of the Nigerian sovereigns who have given us very credible projects, and also through some SMEs, through some partner banks. Well, essentially, this is what the Afrexim Bank is doing to cure the financing gap. So financing, MSME education, access to information, and also facilitation, power, the geometric power plants that we help to bring on stream. You know, this kind of things have to be in place. The refinery, to ensure that there's fuel, there's energy, cheap source to energy, to ensure that, because it's not about single digits. What is the overall cost of fund for the MSME? How much does he pay for transport? How much does he have to pay for information and telecommunication?
All right, and I'm glad that one of the things you talked about is education, because sometimes these programs and packages are available, but when you look at the reality of the SMEs, they don't get, the education doesn't get to them, or the knowledge of it doesn't get to them. So maybe tweak our style a bit because of the time. So Mrs. Osman, I would like for you to build on, you're for innovation, minerals and innovation, on what the Minister of Digital Economy talked about. Let's look at innovation of small businesses and how they can attract funds. In Africa, everybody says, oh, the future of the world is in Africa. Africa has the youngest population, so this is where the skills are, but we don't see it. How do we get them out to be able to attract those single-digit funds?
Thank you. Oh, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the question, and thanks to the minister. Actually, whatever he said is true. And we do have the youngest population, and they are very skilled. And they are very innovative. And there is a lot of innovation that change actually the world, that come from the African young, educated, skilled innovators. But what happened is actually they do not receive from us, and when I say us, it's the member states and it's the financing institutions, is that they do not receive actually what they need, and we lose this innovation. And most of the time they are obliged to sell their innovation to other partners out of the continent, and you find this innovation that would have been easily available to African citizens and at low cost. Now we buy it from China, from Europe, from US, because this innovation is lost to the continent. And just to broaden more than the innovation and the innovator, I would like to remind you that the African continent is the richest continent in the world. We are first or second in most of the most important minerals in this continent. We do have the oil and gas, we do have all the source of power and energy in this continent, and also we do have the youngest population, which is actually really important. Like other continents are aging, and this is not supporting. So as African Union Commission, and since the ABUJA Treaty and the integration program, we try to support the member states to get the benefit of the resource that we have. Will it be in the minerals, in the agriculture, in the agribusiness, and in the innovation and technology. So we had the boosting inter-Africa trade, which gave us the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. We also delivered on the Africa Industrialization Strategy, which actually give us the Africa SME strategy, which have 7 pillars: enabling environment, access to market, access to innovative finance. And it was deliberate to say innovative finance, quality infrastructure, intellectual property rights, and inclusivity, in which we have youth, women, displaced population, and in which you will find also the Wi-Fi, the finance and economic inclusion of women and youth that our DCP talked this morning. So it's really important. It's not only the single digit actually, but what we will, our SMEs face also, it's a very short-term loan. And you cannot deliver what the continent needs if you have to repay in 12 months or 3 years, whatever you can, because industrialization is the key. Industrialization is the most important. And for you to transform whatever it is, will it be mineral, will it be agriculture product, you need to buy technology, you need to buy machinery, and you need to repay this, you need time before you get the result of this. And I am the advocate of the single digit, but I'm also the advocate of a long-term loans.
Obviously, obviously. Thank you so much. And now to the commercial banks who are not friends to small businesses. That's what businesses say. And I'm sure you've heard that many times. But of course, we do understand also that the deposit banks are being regulated. For instance, they have to work within the regulation and the guidelines of the central bank. So we'll ask you, Wema Bank, is it possible, or how can we make the single-digit funding possible? I know you have to do business. You have to consider that. You also have to consider the guidelines you have been given to work with. How can we make it possible? Sorry, Access Bank. I'm so sorry about that.
I was going to correct that, actually. Wema Bank, we're friends, but I represent Access Bank here today, so I was just going to correct that. You heard from CBN that
sorry, can you hear her? Is the microphone okay?
Can you hear me?
Okay, all right.
You heard from CBN that single-digit loan, not likely possible now. But I would like to challenge you, because commercial banks actually don't shy away from SME, at least not Access Bank, right? And I think when we're talking about the reality of what it is today, I think the bigger issue for me is creating the environment where these MSMEs are able to access finance, because that's the first step. Because if they are incapable of even presenting themselves to any bank or lending organization, they can't access finance. So for me, the big issue is capacity building. So we must ensure that we are able to train MSMEs in such a manner that they can present themselves for finance. And when I speak to capacity building, I'll tell you some of the few things that we do in Access Bank. So we organize SME clinics. We actually do train MSMEs on bookkeeping, HR, taxes, the reason why they must incorporate their businesses, so they can at least create the avenue where a lender can begin to even appreciate what they do. And then in terms of, talking about single digits, I think I will tweak it to say creating affordable finance. The thing is that NPR is what it is, as he mentioned. But we don't sit back and say we do nothing. So partnerships become very important, right? Creating the right partnerships that will enable you lend in a manner that it will be affordable for an SME. And when I say that, what am I talking about? We have partnerships, at least for example, in Access Bank, we have partnerships with IFC, FMO, my very good friends, DBN, who is pretending not to be looking. So they all give us finance. And one thing I think I need to mention here is that for every partnership that we have, fortunately, they are all emphasizing on your ability to lend to women. So we have special products created specially for women, where we are lending them at subsidized interest rates, right? And then I think our most recent partnership, and I'd really like to commend the Office of the Vice President for what they are doing in respect of SMEs, for MSMEs. Because right now we have created, in that partnership, we have created a 50 billion naira fund for MSMEs, where we have agreed with them that we're going to impact 4 million MSMEs in Nigeria over the next 4 years. And that is 1 million every year. And that means that, and we've segmented it, so 300,000 out of those the million per year will be focused on training. So we're going to continue capacity building. We're going to train youths and different sectors of SMEs on what they need to do to get themselves ready for businesses. And then the remaining 700,000 will be giving them finance. So we created a portal in that regard, and we have over 100,000 applications that have come in already. I think that these are one of the things that I believe will strongly, strongly support this industry. We have the numbers. We've seen that, we can't overemphasize the fact that it's a critical aspect of the economy and we must pay attention to it.
All right, thank you so much, Access Bank, for your time. And thank you for bringing the capacity building, because obviously it is one of those, if you don't keep your books as a company, as you cannot, access. I'd like to plead with the other members of the panel that will end the session. We have just about less than 5 minutes. So we'll end with BOI and CBN, because this conversation is not supposed to be just come and talk. It's supposed to be a call to action. I'd like to find out from BOI, because the issue of interventions, obviously, if there's going to be a single-digit financing to any business, it is an intervention. It is a subsidy. So, dealing with it so that there's no abuse, because what are the incentives, for anyone to operate in the real sector, not take the loan and go and do something else and come back at the end of the day? What lessons can BOI share with us? Just about a minute, so we can also have CBN. What lessons can BOI share with us on how to avoid abuse? Hopefully, we believe that our hosts will follow up and we will see a program that will give single-digit loan to small businesses. Now, when people are able to access it, how can we avoid abuse and the issue of bad debt? Because these are loans that should be repaid for other people to also have access to it.
Thank you. Is it loud?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Actually, there's no single bullet to that. there's no single silver bullet to answering your question, because we are a society that keeps evolving. Things are changing by the minute. And of course, the success of disbursing and recouping your investment in a short way depends on knowing the person or the businesses that you're investing in. That's key. It's not just with BOI, it is equally with Central Bank, and I'm sure it's very well with Access Bank. So getting to know the people and trusting them enough to have the confidence to disburse loans to them. So for any prospective loan applicant, he needs to understand two things. If you don't have solid character, if you don't have understanding of the business that you want to go in, it is difficult for anyone to take a chance with you. So your reputation counts for you. And the best way to build a reputation is, of course, to do exactly what you said you want to do. So if you are approaching me for a loan to invest in maybe renewable energy or sustainable energy, and I come to your business premises and I see whores and cutlasses, I know you're not really ready for that.
All right. Okay, so we have capacity building from Access Bank. Reputation. I know there are a lot of small businesses here. Reputation is another thing they look up. So CBN, Uncle Para's program still has a lot of issues, repayments and all of that. But what lessons can we learn from your years of intervention that can be applied to another program to make it more successful?
Yeah, I think I don't know whether you are also a beneficiary, because the way you speak about...
I'm just a journalist who interacts with these people.
You can farm. You can also farm. So it's not just substitute. Anyway, that's on a lighter mood. So like my colleagues mentioned, issue relating to capacity building, issue relating to... So I want to add that for commercial banks, because the quantum of funds needed to facilitate finance or to support MSEs, like you rightly mentioned, it's in billions, and you even mentioned in dollars. So we need to bring the commercial banks on board, because they have a bigger war chest to be able to support this. So I think we are looking at maybe creating risk-sharing instruments, the risking tools that would say, okay, fine, how do we now share these risks with the banks? And maybe also come up with incentives. Incentives for those that borrow and pay, to be able to maybe through interest rebates. So that's why the fiscal authority will now come into play. When you borrow and pay, you will be incentivized for this good behavior. Maybe give you a rebate of maybe 40%, which on one hand will reduce your cost of borrowing, and the other hand encourages the banks and also to lend and also encourages repayments. So this is, I think, an area that we need to look at. Why I mention it, my sister from Rwanda, I think she may be aware, where African Development Bank, to be specific, additional himself when he helped set up NASAL, Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk Sharing for Agricultural Lending. So this concept of risk sharing, in fact, is what we should popularize in the African continent. As we speak, I think 3 countries have adopted this risk sharing, and they are doing very well. So I think these are initiatives that I think we need to look at. So
thank you so much. That was really helpful. So SSA, so this is it. You have a package. The program should consider capacity building to help the small businesses keep their books so they can have the grounds to access, and then they should have reputation, and then risk sharing. So you might want to partner some other, maybe Afrexim Bank and DBN and all of that. So we've kept to our time. This is 12 o'clock. We did it. Thank you so much all. Sorry, there's no time for questions.
Amy,
yes,
you
sir.
did very well. Please join them for photographers, please join them. Your Excellency, ma, please. Please, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We will be moving into the next panel, but before then, we want to take advantage of the former president of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria that is here with us for 2 minutes. Let me welcome Engineer Mansur Ahmed to just shed some light on what just happened for 2 minutes.
Thank you, and thank you, Tola, for allowing this. I feel it is important to make a comment at this stage for 2 reasons. First of all, to be honest, and I hope that the senior government officials here will forgive me for what I'm about to say. What we are hearing here seems to create some confusion, because it seems like government is talking from both sides of its mouth, either directly in terms of what they say or in terms of what their body language says, government body language. First of all, we agreed, and we hear it from the Chief of Staff, we hear it from Tola, we hear it from Her Excellency, the Deputy Chairperson, that SMEs are critical to Africa's growth, economic growth. SMEs are absolutely vital for us to provide jobs for the teeming population of our youth. So government at that level, in these words, really considers and regards SME as very high priority for the growth of our economies, whether we're looking at Nigeria or at Africa. If that is so, shouldn't we expect to see high-level government officials responsible for the topic we are discussing here at this meeting? But the CBN is not there. The governor is not here. The Minister of Finance is not here. Thank God we had another minister who is here who spoke the truth. If that is the case, how do we expect government policy at the highest level to reflect what we're talking about? The representative of the governor of Central Bank literally said he doesn't think low interest finance is not possible. That clearly doesn't make sense. And because this is why we're here, to find out how to make low interest loan to SMEs available. If the CBN does not think it is, then I think we have a problem. So it is absolutely important that government, first of all, clarifies its priorities and understands fully what is required. The moderator of that session said, what we see today is that all efforts to bring low-interest loans to SMEs is interventionist. Yes, I believe if we understand this properly, it is only in the short term, because we have to make low interest available to SMEs, not an interventionist. It must be part of the structured economy, because that is the only way it will be important. Lastly, I think there are other ways that we have not even talked about. It is not only government and government agencies that can finance SMEs. I believe the private sector, particularly the large private sector entities, can also do the same for 2 reasons. As has been said, yes, these large private sector organizations also need SMEs because that's their bread and butter. That's how they grow. So to that extent, I believe there is a possibility that we can discuss with the large institutions, the large private sector institutions, how can they also help? And I'm aware, Bank of Industry is here. Some large institutions, in fact, are through their CSRs or CSR, are making funds available at 0 interest for Bank of Industry to now, counterpart fund and provide loans at low interest. So if this can be a general approach, if we can get all our major large organizations in the industry to actually partner with the government institutions to provide support, I'm sure we can get. But in the long run, what I want to say, Tola, is that I think we should be thinking 2 things. Short term, through government interventions, through what the Minister of Digital Economy said, through innovative approaches, create opportunities for SMEs to obtain low-interest loans. Long term, we must seek to restructure our economy so that interests come down. Why should we say it's not possible in Nigeria when other countries are providing the finance at 3% or less? Thank you.
Do you want to speak? Yeah, you can. Okay. All right, thank you very much. While he was talking, the Director General Smedan, Mr. Charles Odi, walked in. I welcome you. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Very quickly, we'll move on to our next panel. And I want to very quickly welcome our moderator. She's the Divisional Head, Retail and SMEs, Wema Bank. She's a wonderful banker. Access Bank to Wema Bank. Your trajectory is always strategy and women. I welcome Ms. Ayo Ojedele. Olojade? Yes, Olojade. Thank you very much. I welcome you. Is that? Okay. These are members of the panel. There's a representative of Mr. Shegun Awolowo. Please join us on stage. Mr. Charles Odi, please, DG Smedan, please join us on stage. There's also a representative of Mr. Maruf Oseni, is Mr. Tunde Mabawonku. Is that you, sir? All right, you're welcome. And so the panel is set, but the Mr. Tola Adekunle Johnson will say a few things before the panel kicks off.
Very quickly, just to say that, to say a quick word with regards to the first panel. The representative of the CBN governor, just to say that I'm one of the lucky Nigerians that benefited from that your single-digit loan. I collected that facility, I think it was October 16, 2012. I was supposed to pay back in 5 years. It was a 9% single-digit loan. But I think I finished my payment in 3 years and 2 months. I was now entitled to come for another one, but I chose not to. But yes, it can work. So if that works, it means that something can work. Then just to also touch on, you said something we have been pushing. You mentioned the risking fund. The risking fund. We have been pushing for this. This is going to go a long way. Because it means that the commercial banks who really have the capacity to disburse these funds can now have the confidence to give out their funds at maybe single-digit loan. Because they know that they have insurance. You know, it's no longer my fund alone. It is now, if I give out 100 naira of my money, there's 50 naira from somewhere just in case you do not pay back. So that is very important, and I thank you for doing that. Before this panel starts, it is very imperative that the DG Smedan, before he goes on his, I'm not setting you up, before he's a panelist today, but he's the Director General of Smedan. Please, I think you should come to the mic and just say a quick word. It is National MSME, it is World MSME Day today, so just a quick, well, you can say it over there. Okay, you can say it over there. Thank you very much.
So, moderator, please take over. Anything you want to say, DG, you say it while you are in the panel. Thank you. Is that? Okay, I think you are left with just the two of them, so you will enjoy your conversation. Where's that? Okay, okay, you're welcome. Please join them. Representing Pebek, okay. Okay, thank you. Ms. Ayo Olajade, do you want honor paper? I can move Tola to come and join you. All right then, over to you. Thank you.
Happy MSME Day, everyone. That was meant for you to respond as well. Happy MSME Days. I think that again. All right. Good morning, everyone. So, you know, when the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union, when she was giving her speech, she did say that achieving the sustainable provision of single-digit interest rate is a vision. And I think going by the first panel, going by the discussion from the first panel, we all agree that indeed it's a vision, because the operative word here is sustainability. So my panel, my very distinguished panel, now have the privilege and the opportunity to be able to talk about those factors that is going to help us attain or actualize this sustainability vision of providing affordable financing and getting it to the single-digit financing. So my first question would be, I think I would start with the DG, Smedan, considering the fact that you've already been called to say something. But the question would be the same for all of us. What are the critical success factor, the essential component of having a supportive ecosystem for MSMEs that is going to help us attain or achieve this vision? So I start with you, DJ.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I use this opportunity to wish all our small and medium entrepreneurs a happy MSME Day? Happy MSME Day to you.
Happy MSME Day to you too.
No. Are there small businesses in the house? Can I see with a show of hands? Happy MSME Day to you. Today is the day where, just like you have the International Women's Day, you have International Father's Day, this is our own day where we're supposed to be celebrated, we're supposed to be appreciated, and so I'm using this opportunity again to wish you all a happy MSME Day. Please, don't take the day off, but please try to celebrate your small successes. Try to celebrate the large successes. Try to just, unwind and take the day to reflect on the last 1 year, coming from 2023 to 2024, what you've done, what needs to be done, and what we could do better. And I hope to God that we will have a fantastic year 2024 into 2025. So to your question, how can we build a supportive ecosystem? Mrs.
Yes.
I think that...
What are the critical success factors to building a supportive ecosystem for MSMEs?
The critical success factors border on, let me just sample the size of the small businesses in the room. How many of us think that financing is critical to the success of our businesses? Let me see. Please, with a show of hands. The hands are still up. Let me see. You need money for your businesses. Can I see? I can't see. Thank you. How many of you, no, keep your hands up. How many of you have been able to get this financing? How many of you have access to this financing? That's your answer. Number one is capital, right? So what is critical to the success of the ecosystem? I think the last speaker was trying to make reference to it, is affordable financing, democratizing access to financing. What His Excellency the President has done is earmarked a sum to the tune of 200 billion for, 75 billion for manufacturers, 75 billion for SMEs, and in his magnanimity, 50 billion for nano businesses. And our classification, nano businesses are businesses that do a turnover of less than 3 million and have less than 3 employees. So 50 billion naira to that cadre of small businesses. And I appreciate His Excellency for that. But what we need to continue to do is to continue to help talk to institutions like yours. And I think, institutions like Access Bank, I don't know if they're in the room, they've earmarked some funds, even though it's not single digits, it is 15% for women and youth. For women and youth to be able to access this fund for working capital, also to procure work equipment. We broker a deal with Sterling Bank to the tune of 5 billion. But this is at a single-digit interest rate, and this is for 3 purposes: for small businesses to use for working capital, to procure workspaces, and also to buy work equipment. We've done the same with the Bank of Industry, and we've begun to do it with different state governments. So we signed an MOU. I've just come from Katsina State. Yesterday we launched our Industrial Development Center, but we've also signed an MOU with the Katsina State government. So that means that small businesses in Katsina State, small businesses in Enugu State, small businesses in Anambra State can access funding at a single-digit interest rate with the collaboration with Smedan and the state government. So beyond funding, funding is one, right? Critical success factor. We want small businesses to have access to financing. But if you take a look at the metrics that we're following closely, number one is our manufacturing output is low. And how can we address that? One is funding, but two is infrastructure. What we've done, how many of you know that right now in Idu here at our complex, you can access funding. If you're a fashion designer, go into the complex, make your clothes, store your clothes and distribute them everywhere in Nigeria at zero cost. How many of you know that? One, thank you so much. Two, thank you so much. Can I get three? Three, four, The president of MSME is here. He wanted to embarrass me. Sir, please raise your hand. Thank you. So what has happened is that we have infrastructure for small businesses because we understand these are perilous times for small businesses. The cost of doing business is high. So what we've done is we've procured these equipments. What happens right now is you go into a Smedan complex, you don't need to bother about buying the equipment, you don't need to bother about maintaining the equipment, you don't need to bother about power. All of these have been made available for you. And we've done this with we've made this informed decision with the needs analysis that we've gotten from the clusters. So there's a huge cluster of wood makers and carpenters in ABUJA. And so from that, we provided state-of-the-art machines for them in our complex. They come in, they process their product, they store it there because we have warehouses available for them, and they distribute it across Nigeria. So that's the second one. The first is financing, the second is the infrastructure, and the third, but not the least, so that I can give my other panelists an opportunity, is collaboration. Collaboration. I thank the governor of Katsina State for a public-public partnership. I thank the MD of Sterling Bank for a public-private partnership. But there's still many more kind of partnership that can be done. I can see my elder sister, the MD of NEPC. One of the things that we're doing with NEPC is we've identified on our own small, because if you look at the numbers again, two things we want to address head on. One is manufacturing. The numbers are low, so we've provided financing and provided infrastructure for a small business to start to manufacture. But another is exports. Our export numbers are very low. They're less than 7%. So in partnership with NEPC, we want to identify these people that can export, small business owners, and then work with them through NEPC's guidelines to make sure that their products leave the shores of Nigeria to Europe, Africa, and the America. Leveraging three agreements. We have the AFCFTA agreement for Africa. We have the AGOA agreement for the US and African nations. We have the DCTS for Nigeria and the UK. And we have different other agreements that small businesses can leverage. And we want to work with NEPC to make sure that we can leverage this. Thank you so much.
Dear DJ, thank you very much. You're very, very busy, and well done. I must say well done. So I will turn to the Executive Director for Retail and Digital, Wema Bank. The DG has pointed or has discussed issues around capital. He's spoken about infrastructure. He's also given us context to all of the collaborative initiative that the agency has been working on to be able to foster sustainability, which is the vision of this particular panel. So I want to ask you, at Wema Bank, as one of the foremost digital bank in this country, in Africa actually, how are you leveraging technology, to be able to build a supportive ecosystem for MSMEs?
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think I will, like she mentioned, speak a little bit more on technology and digital. And like my colleague from Access Bank mentioned, around capacity development. People always say the story, Nigeria is the giant of Africa. And you ask, giant in what are we in nowadays? Yes, it's feel-good factor, we are giant, but in how or what? And our approach or attitude from my institution is, give a man food, he will come back. But teach a man to fish, The man will probably learn one or two things and start understanding what needs to be done. So it's all about technology, all about digital. Everybody in this room that has a smartphone and has WhatsApp. WhatsApp now has what is called artificial intelligence, AI. So slowly and gradually, intelligence, digital is here to stay. Ask WhatsApp a question, it will answer you. So what we are trying to do to these MSMEs is, let's start teaching, empowering on digital skills. We don't want to be left behind in the digital revolution. If you go outside the world now, what we call POS terminals, they are fading away in the East. People with now mobile phone, tap and go, touch and go, using technology skills. There was some popular celebrity that did some wedding a couple of days ago. Almost everybody here in the room will have gotten some clips of the wedding through social media. A couple of years ago, 10, 20 years ago, I waited for NTA News at 9 p.m. to start watching what happened, what didn't happen. But technology is here to stay. So from our own point of view, it's digital skills for small businesses. What are the skills they need to sell their business? What are the skills they need to compete in the global stage? A simple post on Instagram can get you demand from outside the country. A simple post on Twitter can get you supply from outside the country. So our approach is training and empowering through technology. And partnership with Smedan, partnership with BOI, partnership with regulatory organizations will help us try to bring this skill to the small businesses. Yes, we still do the physical ones, bringing work tools to the table, but we believe that digital is the way to go. And by very, very quickly educating and empowering people that the intelligence we thought 20 or 30 years ago is here to stay. And people need to quickly get on board very fast. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Wema Bank, for the facilitating role that the bank has been playing in leveraging digital to support MSMEs and pointing to the fact that it's the future. So I'll come to the representative of Dr. Jumoke, who is the queen of ease of doing business. And I also just want to ask you in that same context, what is it that the team has been doing, from a governmental level, working with policymakers in creating a more supportive ecosystem for MSME financing?
Hello. Okay. Thank you so much for having me. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Taiwo Ajetumobi, and I'm the Senior Special Assistant to the President on PEBEC and Investments. I also double as the Chief Operating Officer of the PEBEC Secretariat. And what is PEBEC? It's essentially the arm of government that is responsible for co-designing, along with federal government MDAs and other state actors, ease of doing business related reforms and supporting the implementation of those reforms, right? And the result of our work is essentially an easier business climate for MSMEs. So MSMEs are effectively our primary customer base, if you would. Because I used to work at Bank of Industry, I have an interesting take on success factors. So permit me to quickly speak to that. And typically we talk about access to finance, but I want to qualify that. It's actually speedy access to finance. If I apply for a loan and I get it in 90 days, it doesn't do me much good, right? The decision, whether it's a yes or a no, should really come much faster because, the best thing is a yes, the next best thing is a very, very quick no. So as a business, I can adapt. I think speedy access to financing, and we have to work from the end and say, okay, for instance, if we said as a government, the position of government is 72-hour loan decisions, what does it then take to deliver 72-hour loan decisions and disbursements? I think that's one of the things we should really look at, really address the issue of speed. And part of it is tools, part of it is the criteria that MSMEs are evaluated against. The second thing I will speak to is the regulatory environment, and that kind of speaks to our work at PEBEC. We have to mobilize the entire regulatory landscape behind this agenda. If you think about it, whose KPI is it in government for MSMEs to grow? Right? It's probably the people in this room, right? DG, Taj, some of our orgas in the room. But maybe we need to expand this. Maybe every single MDA should have a KPI they have to meet that enables the growth of MSME, because that's the only way we really address this massive, massive problem. And the reason also is because of the urgency of the time. This is the moment to act. So I'll speak to some of the stuff we're doing at PEBEC, right? Over the last few years, PEBEC has really driven a two-pronged reform approach in government. One, drive transparency. 2, drive efficiency. So everything it takes to apply for a Smedan certification, everything it takes to apply for a Bank of Industry loan, everything it takes to apply for MDA XYZ permit should be online. We should put it all online, right? In addition to not just the services, the requirements. Technology is the enabler for that, right? But you have to mobilize the institutions to want to work in that way. I think sometimes our regulatory environment, we want to catch the businesses behaving badly versus thinking through how do we enable them grow. And I'll give a quick example. I was in school a year ago, and one of my classmates worked in the government of Singapore. And he's gone back home to work in the government of Singapore. And his job is to think through how in the next 10 years, Singapore will be a global leader in customized healthcare delivery that is tied to your DNA. So if I have malaria, for instance, they come up with a specific malaria treatment protocol that is tied to Taiwo Ajetomobi's DNA. That is a regulatory point of view that is enabling industry. And I think we've got to really shift that mindset. And it's possible. I'd like to take the opportunity to specially congratulate. It's a bit unfair because the other MDAs are not here. So we ran in a 90-day accelerator that touched on 36 MDAs in government, asking them to execute specific reforms that would deliver this level of transparency that I speak about. And one of the spectacular performances we saw was from Nexim. You know, it's possible. And the MD is here, please, he deserves it. You know, the team worked night and day, weekends, public holidays. Every public holiday you've had since February till now, his team has been working. And I think that's really one of the things we have to do. PEBEC is at the forefront of that, but I think it takes more than one to really mobilize the regulatory landscape of the federal government behind MSME growth.
All right, thank you. I thought you were getting a round of applause more. Please clap for him more. That's a very fantastic work. Difficult work, I must say, that PEBEC is facilitating. So we just keep cheering you on, keep cheering Dr. Jumoke's team on. Well done. So I'll come back to you again, DG Smedan, and I want to ask you a question now in the context of Africa. You know, they say that the importance of African solutions and African capacity for tackling African problems cannot, you know, be overstated. So I want to ask the contextual relevance of leveraging Smedan in solving some of these challenges around training MSMEs. How have you been doing that? Yes. Technology.
Okay, for training SMEs, before now, what we used to do is a one-to-one approach. And we found the gap in that one-to-one approach is that you need to know somebody many times, right? Small businesses. But what has happened right now is we're leveraging technology to scale the trainings. One, so it means that the son of a nobody can come somebody without knowing anybody. You can go to Smedan. I'm not sure PEBEC has visited Smedan, just to. But I don't encourage working during the holidays, though. But you know, you can visit a Smedan website and almost immediately apply for one of our programs without even knowing anybody. Because what I found out in my 8 months of being in government is that government is doing a lot of things, but the people that government is doing the things for do not know. So what we've tried to do is to bridge the gap. And I give you another instance. One time, we had 612 million with Jaiz Bank, right? And I can tell you, in that 612 million, guess how many entrepreneurs were able to access that money? Less than 12. The money was eating, sleeping, and breathing in Jaiz Bank. So when I came, it was worrisome to me that this money is supposed to be for the ecosystem. So how come people are not accessing it? The first thing is that the people do not know about it. Right? Small business in the room, did you know about this? Would you like to have access to money? Well, I move the money, there's no money to get access. I'm just kidding. But, you know, trying to solve for that problem is the use of technology. Because how many people can you speak to? In my sphere of contact, daily, I'm in contact with maybe 10 people. the people I see on a daily basis. But again, if I'm going to spread the knowledge, I'm only limited to those people and the people that those people know. So to solving that problem, one of the things that we've done is to leverage technology, right? And using technology to scale. And of course, again, working with our partners like Google and other private partners that would like to work with us. Another thing that we've done, because we understand that we're in Nigeria and then digital literacy is very low. We're talking about technology and a couple of people don't have access to the internet and a couple of people don't have access to smartphones. One of the things that we've done innovatively is to work with small businesses in their clusters. So a cluster of cane makers, clusters of fabric makers, clusters of woodworkers, right? And then we deliver trainings. Before I came here, I was on Channels TV, but from there, I was addressing a cluster of clay makers, right? People that make our fine flower pots, our fine cooking pots. If you're from the southern part of south part of Nigeria, what we serve in those clay pots that we use for our banga soup, right? And these women actually have a lot of people who they export to out of the country, but they never really know. One of the questions I asked them was how they are. But in a nutshell, the solution to that is training small businesses in their clusters, in their cooperative. At Smedan, we have something called the One Local Government, One Product, where we identify cooperatives across the 774 local governments in Nigeria, and we give these cooperatives funds. 70% of the funds is for loans, and 30% of the fund is a grant. And this fund is supposed to be used for working capital in the cooperative, for the cooperative to procure workspaces and to add to their and to buy work equipment. So answering the question in short, we're using technology to scale, and in the rural areas, we're leveraging cooperatives.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Should you give you 1 minute? Technology. Okay. Hello. All right. Thank you very much, DG. DG gave us a lot of context into the work that is, from a training perspective, not just training the elite, but also going, to the rural context, clusters, and working with them to even as much as understand the difference between their sales and what profit means. And sometimes that in itself is sufficient to stand in the way of being able to access funding. So thank you very much. DG, you spoke earlier on about collaboration. Now I'm coming to Wema. The DG Smedan spoke extensively on all of the work that the agency is doing around collaboration, and he emphasized the fact that collaboration is one of the critical success factors of providing a sustainable ecosystem for MSMEs. So I want to find out what are the collaborative initiatives in the context of driving sustainability is Wema Bank currently working on?
Okay, thank you very much. With Smedan. Collaboration is continuous. As institutions, private sector institutions, you have to continue to engage. Let me give an example. We have almost 200 branches across Nigeria. So there's a particular state that wrote to the bank that for every borehole you drill, you have to pay money for access to the water. And obviously we first flipped that, hey, there is no pipe-borne water. What do? I have to generate water to be able to serve and clean my facilities. But said, no, this is the rule. You have to pay per borehole. And we then challenged them, okay, let's work collaboratively together. Can we facilitate water supply to this environment? Can we facilitate water supply to the state? And it's win-win. I don't have to pay per borehole, but I also support you in providing water and infrastructure across the environment. So as private sector, what SMEs want is an environment to do business. Just give me the environment, leave me, and let me do my business. So in making sure that we achieve this is collaboration by all stakeholders. As industry, we come together. What can we deliberately do for small businesses? As somebody mentioned earlier, we should not look at them as poor orphans that we don't know what to do. They know what to do. 96% of the economy. So outside on the road, people are selling things. One example I saw, when they announced the Calabar Coastal Road somewhere in Lagos. Do you know what happened? The day the guys went to site, immediately we started seeing small businesses. The person selling alcohol in sachet, the person selling food, the person selling this, the person selling that. All of a sudden, businesses had come up around the coastal highway. And what do these guys want? Just give us an opportunity to sell our wares, give us an opportunity to do business. So our job in collaboration is ensuring these conversations happen. Conversations with Smedan, conversations with BOI, conversations even in the industry, conversations to also listen to small businesses. What are the things you want, even if single-digit interest rate loans are not available at the moment? The ones we have, can we make it available quickly, promptly? Can we work with you and make you examples so that others can learn from you and then come and take such loans? So to answer your question, Ayo, is collaboration is a continuous process. The end goal is, at the end of the year, statistics will show us what numbers of small businesses have scaled, what is the contribution of small businesses to GDP. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. With this panel, we've talked about some of the factors that will be very critical to achieve this vision of sustainability. There's a deliberate intent. A lot of people have spoken passionately about the fact that MSMEs is at the heart of socioeconomic development, especially in the context of job creation, income enhancement, reduction of poverty, as a consequence. And what this panel, what we've been charged with to talk about, creating that sustainability, creating that ecosystem in a way that it will be sustainable to achieve ultimately that vision of single digits. We've talked about infrastructure. We've talked about technology. We've talked about the regulatory reforms. We've talked about collaboration, very key, and that cuts across all of the members of this very distinguished panel. So I want to say thank you very much to each one of you for share your context and share your, the work, the very, very important work that you're doing to be able to support, the heartbeat of economic development, not just in Nigeria, but Africa as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, Mr. Tola, please join us up here to meet the panel for the final group photograph. Thank you. Let's put our hands together for them, please. Amazing panel. Okay. 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 So while the photograph is going on, we're going to have 3 very quick goodwill messages. One from the representative of His Excellency the Governor of Lagos State, one from Dr. Tony Elumelu from ECOWAS. But we will be starting the goodwill messages from the Managing Director of Nexim Bank Nigeria, Mr. Abba Bello. Let's appreciate him as he steps forward here. Thank you very much.
I guess it's afternoon now, so good afternoon, everybody. It's always my pleasure to be amongst MSMEs, and today is no different. So let me first of all congratulate you, micro, small, and medium enterprises, on today being your day. We celebrate you. And let me also congratulate the SA to the President, Taj, and thank you for what you've been doing for MSMEs in Nigeria, and the agencies who have been supporting him to deliver MSMEs in Nigeria. Mr. Charles Odi, the DG Smedan, congratulations too on all you've been doing for MSMEs. So the topic for today's discussion was providing sustainable finance. And the key word there is sustainable. I heard a lot of talk around what everybody is doing, which are interventionists. And I want to lend my opinion to some of the things that the former president of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria said. That in providing finance that is sustainable and at affordable rates, we can't be talking about short term. It should be medium to long term. We've all heard what and how much the MSME sector contributes to all our economies, not only in Nigeria, neither only in Africa, but around the world. They constitute, in fact, the wheel of the economy. So if we are going to speak about sustainable and affordable finance, we have to speak on it as a structure. So a lot of things I've heard today, I want to believe that they are short term. Around medium term, the minister spoke about innovation. Innovation is not only in digital economy. Innovation can also mean financial innovation. Finance in Nigeria, and when DG Smedan asked you to raise your hands if capital, or that's what I got to understand, that capital is the major problem of SMEs. We cannot continue to finance SMEs through bread and butter ways that we're used to, lending directly. So in my opinion, and I challenge all the financial institutions here, from micro, small, and microfinance banks, who are the direct contacts, supposedly supposed to be the direct contacts with MSMEs, to development finance institutions, and indeed to the central bank, that we have to find a way of blending finance to deliver it to MSMEs at affordable rates as a structure. So I've started hearing things I had in mind, like the risking. Perhaps we need to do or add to the responsibilities of NASA to be a de-risking agency, not only for agriculture, but for MSMEs and other critical sectors of the economy, so that we have a de-risking agency for finance. Two, I've also heard other opinions that can become sustainable, like part financing from state government, part financing from corporate organizations through CSR. CSR should not just be about giving. CSR can also be about creating. So if financing is a problem, we can allocate part of CSR to providing very cheap financing to MSMEs. I like that idea too. But finally, there are other options that I've not heard spoken about today. One of which is one of the things that Nexim Bank has been, together with Afrexim Bank and the Central Bank, has been trying to introduce as a financing product for SMEs in Nigeria. And it's called factoring. Among the SMEs that are here, is there anybody that supplies a corporate organization? Anybody? Anything? How long does it take to get paid?
Well, it depends. Sometimes
90 days,
yes.
120 days,
Yes.
180 days,
Yes.
sometimes. And we're saying legislate factoring as a financing product for SMEs. So what is factoring? Factoring is invoice discounting. Today, that financing is a problem for SMEs. When you supply MTN or Dangote and you're waiting 90 days, perhaps with your capital, or your mother's contribution to your capital, or your sister's contribution, you still have to wait 90 days. Take that invoice to a commercial bank to discount it. What happens? Some of you think that you don't even have access to the commercial bank, right? Or nobody attends to you. So what we're saying, bring in factors who will take up that invoice of Dangote and discount it immediately so that you can start your business again. That is a structure that works everywhere in the world, especially in Europe. And we want it for the sake of MSMEs in Nigeria. So that's another option that can be considered as a financing solution. But again, especially what the second panel discussed is about, I think, creating the environment for MSMEs to thrive. We know there are challenges, and it is important for every agency, every corporate, and everybody who is involved in facilitating trade in Nigeria does his work, and it must be monitored that they're doing their work. Because we've been sitting here today and power went off twice. That's the beginning of the problem of every business. There is no power, there is no energy, or energy is expensive. It's still a problem if lending is 2% and you're paying through your nose for energy. It's still a problem. Because, especially for SMEs that export, you will not be competitive in the global market, would you? Even in the domestic market, those that are producing and importing into the, you won't be competitive. So it is essential that common services are efficient for MSMEs to thrive. Financing is one. The cost of operation is another, which must be considered. So as we trudge along, I think we must have short-term plans, medium-term plans, of making things conducive for SMEs and MSMEs to thrive. And Tola knows that he can always count on Nexim in support of MSMEs. Thank you very much, and I wish you, it's a goodwill message. I'm supposed to wish you fruitful. I hope the discussions have been good for everybody.
Thank you very much. We'll be rounding up with the Governor of Lagos State, but let me welcome here Dr. Tony Elumelu to please step forward here. That name rings a bell in Nigeria, except that you are slightly bigger than the other Tony Elumelu. And he wears suit with red tie. You are a native, but the name is similar. I welcome you. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Excellencies. Our special assistant, I won't say for the president alone, for the country. I bring you greetings from the ECOWAS Commission. Just like he said, my name is Tony. But I normally put Luca Elumelu so that people don't get confused. I just want to start by commending the Nigerian government for recognizing the role that the MSMEs play, and also our colleagues, I call them my colleague from the African Union. We've been working together on MSMEs. But it's very important to reiterate the fact that the presence of the dignitaries here present place it on table that there's a change in paradigm in terms of addressing MSMEs issues. And we'll say thank you very much. Going across the border up to the AU is a very important and the best decision made so far, because at the end, we are going to continental free trade. The Goodwill message, now that is like closing remark, is informed by, to us, I think it's an added value, so that we will listen to those. But unfortunately, we have not really listened to the MSME. I'm sure in due time, you know their problems. Excellency, I tell you the problem. We adopt text, regulations, but we don't implement them. We adopt tests at the continental level, regional level, but we don't implement them. Because if we sensitize people on this test, you will know that what we've been discussing since, they're enshrined in the document. I'm sure you know that within the ETLS, ECOWAS Trade Liberation Scheme, that all the goods produced locally can cross the border free. But what do you need to do? You need to build the capacities of your stakeholders to be able to move their goods across the borders. Beyond that one, you have the MSME Charter. In that MSME Charter, Excellency, you have the issue of funding, access to fund, and how you can even get the funds. See, they're all enshrined there. The central bank is supposed to be providing some money for this purpose, like for procurement. Anything that is above $200, below $200 should not go to big companies, should go to MSMEs. They're all enshrined in this document. But because of time, I will find time to at least give you some of this you need to know. We also, at the ECOWAS level, harmonize with the AU. So it is easy for us to transit. But another thing again that I didn't hear here, I want to mention it, Excellency, the issue of quality and standard. You need to, in your capacity building, emphasize on quality and standard. We all know that the big companies, you know, Bavarian Motor Works, all of them, their components of the cars that we drive here are produced by MSMEs. The academia is not also involved in what we are talking about. You need to also involve the academia. They have a critical role to play in terms of upgrade. So having said this, because I'm giving 2 minutes, but I think there's a lot of drama being brought into it. Excellency, you brought drama into it. And what people want to see is drama. You know, when you sing and you just walk out of the stage without bringing drama, thank you for bringing that drama. And we'll go with you from the ECOWAS Commission to make sure that at least we're working with Smedan. He was in my office about a few days ago. We discussed how to move forward. We have the president of NASME, who is here. You may wish also to confirm. We are building a coalition and we're trying to have an agreement across the border so that they can speak to each other. Because after improving on your goods, what happens? You need market access. You need networking that we've been mentioning here. So, like it was said before, with these few points of mine, I hope I've not been able to, I've not confused you, but I convince you that this day is a remarkable day, and you have written your name in the annals of even the continental region. And I say that you have the grace. So our prayers are with you and support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. While he's stepping away, I'd like to welcome all the members of the National Association, Shea Butter Products Association of Nigeria. The members are here. The National Treasurer, Alhaji Ahmad Tarika Funtua, is also here. All of you, thank you very much. We welcome you. And then finally, representing His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu. I'd like to welcome a special assistant to the Governor with oversight function across the Ministry of Commerce, Cooperative, Trades and Investment. Please welcome Mrs. N. Hawa Adeyo. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so sorry I came in late. You know how it is at the airport in Lagos. Okay. I'm here representing the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu. Good afternoon, esteemed guests, entrepreneurs, and stakeholders. It is with a great pleasure that I extend warm greetings and heartfelt goodwill on behalf of Mr. Governor to each and every one of you gathered here today, as we convene to deliberate on the vital topic of fostering a sustainable environment for micro, small, medium enterprises, MSMEs, to flourish. We recognize the indispensable role that these businesses play in driving economic growth, innovation, and job creation within our communities. The Governor is deeply committed to supporting and empowering our MSMEs, recognizing them as the lifeblood of our economy and the backbone of our society. By providing a conducive ecosystem that nurtures their growth, fosters innovation, and ensures equitable opportunities, we can collectively pave the way for a more prosperous and inclusive future for all. Today's event serves as a testament to our shared dedication to championing the cause of MSMEs and creating a landscape where they can not only survive but thrive. Though through collaboration, innovation, and strategic partnership, we can overcome challenges, unlock potentials, and build a resilient framework that empowers our entrepreneurs to reach new heights for success. May this gathering inspire us all to redouble our efforts, leverage our collective strengths, and work hand in hand towards building a brighter future for our MSMEs and communities. Thank you for your unwavering dedication, passion, and commitment to the cause of fostering MSMEs. Together, we can create a sustainable environment where every entrepreneur has the opportunity to thrive and succeed. Wishing you all a productive and inspiring event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your concern and your love. As we're rounding up...
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing